Right, good morning, welcome back. Okay, now if you've been following this build, you will know that this is the last final piece of paintwork today. I've got to paint the top of the tail unit. The tail unit was a complete remake of the original large one that I did. It was something I decided to redo completely, and this is the final thing. To paint it all black to match the rest of the bodywork, and once it's dry, bolt it on for a stand back to see if that look is how I wanted it to be. Pretty much think it is, but hey ho, still got to get it painted yet. Still got a long way to go to get that perfect finish so that it matches the tank and the rest of the paintwork at the same standard of smoothness. Satin paint cannot be made good if it ain't good. So let's hope for a good finish today. Right, it's enough chat, let's get stuck in. Right, first task. Preparation. Got to make that a bit smoother than it is right now. And also, going to give that silver in there a little buff and see if it comes out a little bit shinier than it already is. It's alright as it is, but a little more is better. Right, okay, a couple of things that I'm probably going to get in the comments. I'm gloving up now for the last scratch over with paper. I'm going to use 1000 grit paper for the last final sand over. The reason I used bare hands to do it so far was that you can feel so much more, you truly can. If you've ever done your own wet sanding, you'll know that that lovely feel you get on the watery surface with your naked fingers, you can feel every little imperfection and you can deal with it and feel for the next one and deal with it. You can take your time. This has taken 2 hours to get to this point and it feels lovely now, but you cannot feel those imperfections when you're doing it with gloves on and latex. So in this instance, I've done the bare hands. I've got 99% of it done. This is just now going to be a final sand over with some 1000 grit. So to answer that too, because there's loads of you said in the past you shouldn't be using 1000 grit for the final sand before painting. That's a polishing paper, etc. But remember, the reason I'm doing this, it's worked for me. It was advice from Milo years ago. 1000 grit or even 1200 if you can be careful with it, and that gives you a super fine finish when you come to paint. You need that with satin and matte paints because you cannot correct them or buff or polish them afterwards. How they come out of the gun or can is how they remain. So in this instance, I'm going to use the 1000 grit because I've used it in all the other pieces of bodywork. It's not been any problem at all. And for those who might think that then you don't get a proper key to the paint and it can lift off in the future, well, I've never had that happen. I've been using tough paint for many years, been okay so far. If I find that it is, then I'll modify my approach towards it, but it works. 1000 grit is absolutely fine. And think just for a minute, when you do clear lacquer over artwork, you haven't keyed that up before you spray it, have you? That goes straight over the flat bodywork with no key whatsoever, and it works absolutely well. So it works. As long as it works, that's why I'm going to do it. I'm not going to say this is advice or guidance. Don't do what I do, do what works for you. This is what works for me. Anyway, I'm going to shut up and get on with it. just one thing I learned from watching Milo Garage all those years ago was just to rehearse the operation all around the job. Make sure you can get all around it, full access all around the workpiece, all around the bench, not anything to trip over, nowhere this is going to hit anything. If you've got a hose, then obviously you've got enough hose and you're not going to run out and can't get close enough to the job. All that sort of stuff is important. So once you start painting, it's one operation from start to finish, coat after coat, with no stopping to try and move it and realign things. Doesn't matter, as he said, how long it takes to set up your painting operation. Even if it takes you a whole day and you have to come at it the next day to paint, doesn't matter. Once you start painting, it can only be one operation right the way through, and I found that really works for me. So we'll do that again today. Everything's worked. It's all nicely lined up. That's all completely degreased now. I'm going to leave it for about another half an hour, just for all the vapours of that acetone to just evaporate away. I'll come at it. We'll do a first tack coat. Okay, awesome. Happy with the result on that. Managed to strike the balance between not too dry and not too wet, no runs or sags or anything, and no dry grainy patches either. That's floated out nicely with no ill effects. I'm really, really chuffed. That is at least as good as the tank, so I know that it will dry and it will it will mat out at least as well as the tank has, and that'll be great because when it goes on, it will match perfectly. Now that's it. Once that's on, it is a case of handlebars. I've got to change those plastic fluid pots for the brake and clutch. They're going on some nice alloy ones. That will look really trick. Then it's put the nose cone on, wire the lights in, wire the indicators in, wire the backlight in, wire the horn in, put the cable in the speedo, MOT. Is it that close? Damn. I think it is. Honestly, I think we're that close. Probably 2-3 weeks at the most, and this will be on the road. I really hope so. There we are. And also I've got another little lathe project coming, which I'm really looking forward to. Thanks for all your kind words on the last lathe project. That was amazing. It did go down very well with its owner. She absolutely loved it. It's very grateful indeed. And the next one is something a little bit more difficult because I've got to work to specification. This time's different. I've got a proper set of drawings with sizes on it and everything, and I've got to make it exact. And that's where I think the challenge is going to be, and I'm really looking forward to it. So there we are. I'm going to update the board. Thank you for watching, for all your kind support. That's going to have 48 hours. And I'm going to leave you with the drying overnight, which I think you loved the last time. So out comes the time lapse. Let's see how it goes. See you next time.